The rain had gone, and here was Wilton Park, basking in the sunshine of a Sussex summer. As around 60 delegates gathered from around the world, they were aware of the cloud that has lifted in the last week over relations with Libya. After much patient negotiation by the European Union, 6 Bulgarian medics had been released after being sentenced to death 8 years ago. Many of the speakers here were from Tripoli. But first, the British minister, Dr. Kim Howells, set the scene for a new engagement with Libya.
What provided the basis for the new relationship to flourish between Britain and Libya was Colonel Gaddafi's wise decision to give up voluntarily Libya's programs on weapons of mass destruction, allied to the resolution of the Lockerbie issue. Since then, this relationship has grown astonishingly fast. When countries are in dispute, a side effect is that all efforts concentrate on trying to resolve the issue that divides those countries. This consumes time and energy, and it weakens the wider relationship. Conversely, a friendly political climate encourages all manner of activities, initiatives, and discussions. This includes human rights, which I am pleased to see is on the agenda for this conference.
While developing its oil and gas reserves, Libya is giving a new green light to the private sector to develop infrastructure.
For 3 decades or more, the Libyan economy has been dominated by oil and by the public sector. Current policy is to reduce both types of dominance. In fact, diversification of the economic base and allowing the private sector to prosper are required for sustainable long-term development. Fortunately, the 2 objectives are compatible and tend to enforce each other. Diversification was sought but did not materialize during the 70s and 80s precisely because the public sector was not performing well and the private sector was weak or virtually non-existent in some pivotal sectors.
British consultants, with often frustrating links with Libya, are convinced that British companies must now seize the opportunities.
We need to get in there now, not tomorrow. The time has actually arrived. It's been a long gestation, but it's actually beginning to happen. The pitfalls are usual, very, very familiar. You'll have a number of people claiming to have projects and have the right connections and so on. Be very careful. Make sure that the project that you're interested in is real, that there's the funding behind it, and the grouping of it are if you like, clear and can deliver the goods.
One hope of the politicians is that Libya, with its emphasis on a gentler brand of Islam, will now be an influence away from bigotry. The British minister has just returned from a visit to what he described as the new neighbour of Europe and was enthusiastic about a new relationship.
It was seen as a kind of a seat of trouble and a place that was instigating terrorism and all that sort of stuff. Now it's seen as somewhere where you can do business, where people want to go to visit as tourists. Suddenly everybody's walking up to the fact that this was, you know, one of the great bread baskets of the Roman Empire, and they've got wonderful Roman buildings there and wonderful beaches, and I'm absolutely convinced that it's going to be one of the main foci for European tourism over the next 10 years, no question about it. But of course the Libyans have to change.
Of course there are questions of democracy and free speech, but it seems that a new chapter is being written in the history of this wealthy young African nation.